Hello, fellow Hum 5900ers. So this is where I ended up with a capstone paper concept map. It's definitely the most messy map I've ever made, I think, throughout this whole program. But as we've been talking these last few weeks, I've really tried to embrace the critical creative process, and fortunately for me, Dr. Cooper was able to really jumpstart my thinking for this week to really help point me in a direction that would provide me a useful path to explore. So yesterday I went through and I read all of the capstone papers that were provided and wrote down a bunch of thoughts of my brainstorm. So keeping in with my similar threads paper that was duty, I first thought of, what are the different forms of duty that people can experience. There's feelings of duty at different times in your life, philosophical definitions of duty. Duty is related to what you do, who you are, and there's different ways to persevere and maintain your sense of duty along the way. This note here is my reminder to make sure that I put some graphs or charts or something along the way in my final capstone paper. This note was my thinking of duty as having a sense of morality, making ethical, moral decisions in executing your duties. A note that was from my threads paper that I didn't actually really get a chance to incorporate. Duty is related to, or thinking is related to duty. What is system 1 and system 2? So like your quick firing brain versus your long thought out critical thinking brain. How can you adopt system 1 into thinking about duty? So again, another note reminder, use all my works, all the things that I've thought about so far in the program into this final capstone paper. And then another note, how do I bridge a gap from duty to generational leadership? So generational leadership is something that's been really important to me throughout my career so far. And with it, there have been things where, I've had to have folks that are under me that are, in their late 30s, early 40s, to airmen who are literally 18 years old. And, for them, 9/11 has been a historical event, whereas the rest of us have grown up with it as something that's happened. And then for some, the more senior enlisted folks, 9/11 was an event that happened while they were in the service, right? So we have these 3 distinct categories of generations of people in the military, and they all have different ways of thinking about things. Down here in the bottom, just a nice little to-do list to remind myself to make sure I get stuff done this week. And then here throughout is my new concept map for this capstone paper. So again, I started up here at the top with duty, and then keeping in my same train of thought as through my threads paper, duty is equal to some sort of responsibility to self, responsibility to others. You have a responsibility to act. So, and if you act on things, you act on your interests, typically, and those interests also relate back to yourself or to others. The way that I built this, I kind of went from this little area to the self to, are you aware of issues and problems related to duty? Are you doing the right things? So then if you're aware, then that means it sparks some sort of inquiry. And then how do you use critical creative thinking to find a solution to that. For others, interests to others, to managing people. Managing people requires judgment, assessing needs and skills, because people's different skill sets vary. Again, so then managing people by generations, different viewpoints, different people have different thought processes. Here's a quick little list of all the generations that are actually still in the workforce today. As you can see, we have 5. So then going back to managing people, tying in between how to manage people, how to blend a workforce together. Number one, first and foremost, that's the job of the manager. The manager has a duty to make sure that they're using all the resources and assets they have at their disposal to make the best decisions possible for people. Want to make sure that they're keeping the company's directives in mind, and then blending a workforce specifically ties back to these 5 generations, because each one of them has some sort of different motivation or sense of duty that's going to get them to do what they need to do. And that's how you can see it's tied in all the way back up to duty here. Then after blending a workforce, requires continuing education. So one of the areas that I'm going to be talking about is management theory, how to blend workforces and managing people. And then you can see here how I've been able to tie these theories and education back into interests, because that's something that has interested me, that I realized when I got here to the end that yes, I am interested in finding ways to make use of my education to make sure that I've found ways to engage people, make what I do for the military more effective, more efficient, and realize that there are multiple people that are going to have different ways of doing things that I'm going to need to blend and work together throughout the course of my career. So that's where I got for this week. Let me know if anybody has any thoughts, or if maybe you have any ideas on some additional branches to this map that I could add.